All right, thanks. I hope everyone is signed in as a visitor today. We have a lot of more people than sometimes at some of our meetings. So I'd just like to remind everyone how these meetings procedure that we follow, and it's so that everyone can be heard. So there is going to be a public comment that is low down in the, we're going to follow the meeting agenda. So when it comes to public comment, please be aware that we have to limit your comments to 2 minutes. And that as a part of those comments, it's important that because this is a public meeting, that nothing is shared unnecessarily. And if you have information with regard to students, their names, their identities, something that happened to them, it's for them to share and not someone else. So please keep that in mind when you're giving your comments, all right? All right. Okay, so I think we can begin. All right. So we'll call the meeting to order. 6:44. Moment for personal commitment and pledge of allegiance. Someone that can lead.
We don't have a flag in here, but our school flag is that way, if you want to face that way.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody.
Do you mind doing the roll call?
Okay, I'm going to do the roll call, and just a friendly reminder that while it may seem repetitive, because we are streaming this meeting, we're going to have to do a roll call now, and we will do a roll call vote on every motion that we vote on. So we'll start with Ms. Edmond. Mrs. Barron is here. Ms. Baloo. Here. Ms. Becher. Here. Ms. Cavallari Diaz. Ms. Perrone. Here. Ms. Cobb.
Here.
Mr. Conley.
Here.
Ms. Davila.
Here.
Ms. Doherty Treading. Here. Mr. Porter.
Here.
Mr. Grishatter.
Here.
Ms. Minor. Here. Mr. Plexner.
Here.
Ms. Pyle. Here. Mr. Trent. Is Mr. Trent absent?
Yeah, not here.
Okay. All right, we have a quorum.
All right. Everyone has had a chance to review the agenda. If no one has anything that they'd like to add or remove, I'll move to approve it.
Second. All right, we have a motion to approve our agenda for this evening, brought by Mr. Conley and seconded by Ms. Doherty Treading. Ms. Barron is a yes. Ms. Baloo? Yes. Ms. Becker? Yes. Ms. Cavallari Diaz? Ms. Perrone? Yes. Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Davila?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty Treading? Yes. Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Grishatter?
Yes.
Ms. Minor? Yes. Mr. Plexner?
Yes.
Ms. Pyle? All right, all in favor, the motion carries.
All right, thank you. We have the minutes from the last meeting.
The minutes from February and from December.
I'll motion to approve if no one has any other discussion on this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the December and February meetings proposed by Mr. Conley, seconded by Ms. Law.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Barron is in favor, good yes. Ms. Baloo? Yes. Ms. Becker? Ms. Cavallari Diaz? Ms. Perrone? Yes. Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Davila?
I have to abstain from December since I wasn't here, but yes for the February.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Doherty Trevor? Yes. Mr. Gorder?
Yes.
Mr. Grishaber?
Yes.
Ms. Minor? Yes. Mr. Flexner?
Yes.
Ms. Pyle? Yes. All right, motion carries with the one abstention. Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda are reports. We've got the principal's report first.
Sure. It's in everybody's packet. Organizational leadership, student course requests for next year's program have all been submitted. So kudos go out to Mr. Flores, Ms. Greenblatt, doing a really good job right now. It's amazing. We're at full capacity right now because now we've filled up all of our classes. It's been 4 years since the freshman academy has opened. So right now we're going to be around 40 to 50 every year right now. So this is really important. This is kind of the base year going forward. So a nice job. And our kids, I think about 85% of our kids have submitted requests for next year. Our CIWP, anybody doesn't know, that's Continuous Improvement Work Plan, that opens April 10th, 2023. It's a little later than usual. They originally put it off to the fall, but now they're bringing it back. So I'm sure we'll ask some members of the LSC to join us on that. We hosted the Network 14 team for our middle of the year learning walk. Dr. Limon was here. I think it was a really good walk, and we saw some areas of improvement we can do. But overall, I was proud of my kids walking in those rooms. And we completed a program quality review also. On last Tuesday and Wednesday, I met with all 1,065 seniors and talked about year-end expectations. They wasn't the happiest meeting in the world. They weren't happy when they left, but they understood it because we're laying the groundwork for the end of the year. And so we let them know that if they want to go to Six Flags Great America Night, that's where they go all night at Great America with other CPS schools. If they want to go to prom, if they want to walk the stage, they have some expectations. And one of those expectations is limit your tardies to class. We're especially cracking down in the student code of conduct and something called a 2.2, which is leaving the building. Somewhere along the line, kids think that they can leave for lunch. They think it's an open campus and it's not. So we're kind of cracking down on that a little bit. And also just stop being knuckleheads, and they know that. I think our kids, they get the idea, and it's what we're trying to do is I'm trying to offset senioritis, which normally happens about this time. I love all my kids, but my seniors in that last month of school are really tough to steam sometimes, but I think they got the picture. We hosted a CPS district-wide MYP coordinators meeting for classroom visits. That was an honor for us to do. We interviewed and are in the process of hiring an admissions director. Schools half our size have admissions director, and it's about time that we have that. It's really being a strain on some of our APs. Mr. Glowitz is he's a rock star. We all know that. But we need some time, and we need somebody that can do that and be a good face for the school and visit all of our schools. It's not just an admissions director, but it's something that's going to really help our kids. They're going to meet with our 20 feeder schools, our counselors at our 20 feeder schools, and talk about how we can better service our kids when they come over here. He's going to meet with all the counselors. So it really is a really exciting opportunity for us. So it's about time we had an admissions director. As an administration, we are 84% complete with our reach evaluations. 84. I know a couple people are already done. Mr. Flores and Ms. Greenblatt are 100% done. They brag about it on a daily basis, but it really is a lot. I think, Eric, there it is. 350 observations we've done between 7 people. So it's a lot, but it's really where you have quality conversations with your teachers, and it really improves our instructions. Again, we don't do it to get you. We do it to get you to be a better teacher, and it's really good conversations. Dates to remember, parent-teacher conferences. Information will be going out for that tomorrow. Again, we're going to have it at regular school day, 7:45 to 3 o'clock in the daytime. People say, Mark, why don't we do the old 12 to 6? Well, we had that we put a survey out last fall before we started the other one. It was like 56% of the community wanted it during the daytime. And now when you can do, where you can do it online a lot of the time, but some people can do it at their offices if they want. So it really is, it's one of the benefits of COVID that we all know how to use the computer now. So we're going to be doing it in the daytime. You'll get information on that. And again, I'm excited about this one. Friday, April 28th, we have Arbor Day tree planting. The Alderman and the Commissioner of Streets and Sanitation and Alderman Napolitano has helped us out with that one. We're going to plant 38 trees around the campus. I have a Boy Scout that's working on his Eagle award, I think that's what you call it, and he's gonna show where we put them all around the campus. And like I told you before, I want our campus to look like a bowl of Fruit Loops in the fall. So we're gonna plant a lot of maple trees around the campus and just make it beautiful. Some stuff I've added, students won the Shakespeare Slam. If you get a chance, please log on to our website. It really is amazing. And I'm not, my APs know I'm not a good Shakespeare person, you know, but this is amazing. They did a skit where they had to marry a song with a Shakespeare play. So they did, I believe it was King Lear and Bohemian Rhapsody. So when you look at it, it's like a little bit of King Lear, and then they jump into Scaramouche, Scaramouche, do I do the bandanzo? And it's just amazing watching these kids marry the two. So please check that out. Robotic, once again, Mr. Schmidt. We took 8th out of 50 schools, and some of the schools were from around the world. We had Turkey here. I forget where the other one was, but 8th and 50. We're still in the process of that. I think we're going to do better. We have the play coming up, 9 to 5. Please get tickets if you can. When we get our performing arts going, it really is a really good thing. It is. I like Chicago theater, and I do a lot of Chicago theater, and I'll put our plays against some plays that are at Steppenwolf or the Goodman. I really do. So please check it out, 9 to 5. And I just got this one today, Annabelle Abarca. Annabelle Abarca, class of 2004, is a new alderperson in the 12th ward, and she's a Taft Eagle. So that's all I have, and it's good stuff. So thanks, everybody.
I have a question about
Yes.
the admissions director
Yeah.
position. Was that position, or is this replacing another budgeted portion?
No, it was not a budgeted position, but we had extra money in the budget, so that's what I decided to go with. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, I've been wanting that admissions director for a couple of years, but we've been kind of using it for other things. But right now, with a little bit of budget, we're going to go with it.
Thank you.
Mr. G, I have
Yes.
a question.
Yeah.
You said we have 20 feeder schools.
Right.
What schools are those?
I can't name them all,
Okay.
but you got the Edgebrook, the Wildwoods, the Farnsworths, the Norwood Parks. You got Bridge, Canty, Dever. Don't say Dever, it's always Dever. Who else can help me? Edison Park, Oriole Park, Nottingham, Farnsworth, Miser. Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's a lot, 20. I believe we have the most in any, yeah. I've heard people say that if we were zoned like other schools, we would have 4 high schools in our zones compared to Taft, but everybody wants to go to Taft, so they just keep expanding the boundaries. So
It'd be our own town.
yes, we will be our own town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda, committee chair report, PPLC.
Oh, we didn't do budget.
Oh,
Did
budget.
we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
Good catch.
Missed that.
We didn't meet as a budget committee, but I'll let everybody know that we're doing well with the budget. Internal accounts are fine, and both our 115 fund student-based budget are healthy right now. As I've said to everybody in the past, when you get the internal accounts, what usually happens is it usually starts about $300,000 in August. Then everybody comes back to school and it starts to beef up a little bit. We might get to about $1.2 million. And then it starts to leak down through the whole year with some of expenses. But right now we are at around $300,000. But again, I talked to all the seniors, and you have to pay all your fees to walk the stage. So we'll start to beef up again. We might get up to about $700,000. And we have a lot of fees at the end of the year, some athletic equipment. We do a lot of purchases for next year with desks and supplies for next year. So it'll go down again, and then we start that cycle all over again. So it's good. We have the big bill again, Compass Transportation. 25,371. That's the one I need a approval for because it's over 10,000. It's Compass Transportation, 25,371. And then I have 3 budget transfers that I need approval. One is for $23,000 for athletic supplies. As you know, our spring season is one of our biggest ones, so we have to get all the best supplies. Like I said, I've said since day one, my teams may not win everything, but they will look the best. So we buy them all the best stuff. Then we have $32,000 to offset negative buckets. And then we have $25,372 to pay for the Compass Transportation. Any questions on budgets? Yes.
Not the kind of budget, but like, we don't want to do for graduation, like, we have to pay months ago. What happens to students who may not be able to pay all of graduation?
I work with individual families at that time. I've never not let a student walk because they don't have the money, ever. Okay. What I usually do, and I don't like saying it because everybody makes notes on this, but I usually say, how much can you afford? And they'll usually tell me, and I'll say, okay, what I want you to do is say it's $1,000 and you can pay $300. I'll say, okay, pay 300, but that's not, I'll say, do you have enough to go to prom? Well, I wasn't going to prom. Okay, now it's 200. So now you got a prom dress, okay? And whatever they can afford, I take. And then I always ask them, one day you come back and you write a check for $1,000 to the principal and said, Mr. G took care of me. And you come back. Now, whether they do that, I don't know, but I think some future principal is going to be getting a lot of kids showing up. With this, so I would hope. So like I said, we work with everybody. Yeah, because, and my thing is that I'm not going to help you with prom because prom's about you. Although I have been lenient at times when I get some in my office. I'm not going to work with Great American Night because that's about you. Graduation's about your family, and we want you. I don't want people to take it. I don't want them to take that away from their family. I want mom crying. I want dad puffing his chest out because he's proud, and that's what we do. So I work with them all. Good question.
Do you have the option when people fill out their forms, because we did this at Amundsen, where you could give more money? Because some people do that to kind of help
Yeah.
offset students who can't, or do you?
No, that's a really good idea, Alex. We can do that.
Yeah.
And again, I think that not only that, but I think we're in the process of turning our PTSA into a Friends of Taft who will do an annual appeal, because I think we are a sleeping giant right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we started this at, I actually started it at St. Pat's. I started at Whitney Young. I think that's my calling, is to start these things. Right now, Whitney Young, I think, is making $875,000 a year through the appeals. And it started off at what I call bake sale fundraisers, where we would sell stuff, but it's like $10,000 or $15,000, and that's not a lot. But when you start to go out there, you need somebody like a professional that can call some of our alumni. Like right now, we have alumni that are like 80, 85 years old, and you talk to them about estate planning.
Yeah.
And you just get them, hey, would you think about maybe putting $10,000 into the into Taft and stuff like this? So that's how you start to raise money. That's how the Catholic schools do it, and they're pretty successful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want me to make a motion for the?
Sure.
You do it all on one? All right. Motion to approve the budget transfers as described by Principal Grishaber.
Is that Mr. Border?
Yeah.
Okay, the motion is to approve the budget transfers as requested by Ms. Baloo. Ms. Dutt. Yes. Ms. Malone. Yes. Ms. Cobb.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Ms. Mazilla.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty Stark. Yes. Mr. Border.
Yes.
Mr. Grisham.
Yes.
Ms. Minor. Yes. Mr. Clemson. Ms. Kyle. Yes. All right, all in favor, motion carries.
All right. Moving on to the next item, the committee chair reports, the PCLC.
Thanks.
We had a meeting yesterday at PPLC, and I'm gonna submit our report for October. There's nothing to discuss about it.
Thank you. Safety and Security Committee.
Can I just say the PPLC is Personnel and Professional Leadership Committee, which is the teachers, just in case
Thanks, Al.
people want to know what a PPLC is. We just have handouts for the LSC, but since we have so many people in the audience tonight who might want to kind of follow along, I have a couple of extra copies. I'm Alex Fabilla, my second year on the Taft LSC, and this is my first year on safety and security. We've gone through a couple of, we had our last director leave that did last year, and then we had kind of a substitute step in, Mr. Spear, and then when he left to be an AP at Sen, Pat Levins, one of our APs took over, and now, starting this year, we have Dr. Balata, who is from the neighborhood, and did she go to Taft, or did her kids go to Taft?
Her kids went.
Her kids went to Taft. And she's great. I've only had 2 meetings with her so far, and she's shared a lot of great information, has started a lot of new things, and has had a lot of successes. So she shares out just things that are happening and that she's doing as the culture and climate director, and that's what our safety and security meetings are about. So I know Mr. G will later discuss other things about safety and security, so that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna talk about the meeting that we had today, which is based on, oh, I have a third one. Does anybody, just in case you pass it around. So we had the meeting earlier today, and I was at work, and I drove in from Lakeview, so forgive me if I don't have there's a lot of stuff to cover, so I want to just try to be brief, but cover everything as well. You all know on the LSC, we have our SOAR, communicators, open-minded, caring, and principled policy here with our safety and security. Ms. Ballotta, Dr. Ballotta started off talking about the tardy policy again. That was, what is it, the T-birds? That
T-birds.
Mr. Glowatz, you may know Mr. Glowatz. Mr. Glowatz started
Tardy birds.
before Dr. Ballotta came to Taft. This is trying to really address the tardy issues of students in hallways, because that causes obviously a lot of other problems, and so we can get students back into the classrooms, we can solve a lot of problems that way. So she had AP Hess pull the data from the TFA, and that was already looking good. We talked about the policy of bringing students in and then having an intervention, and then doing the intervention and doing the skill building, and they do that during lunch. And she's had 100% attendance at their interventions, and she's only had 20%. This is from last month to now, so we're just talking about this last month. 20% of repeat offenders, so there's a lot of success in the program that she's doing there. And then we had here at the varsity campus, and I just want to make sure I'm getting that. Here we go. She started off when she started last month, the month before our last meeting. She had they had a 250-person intervention that they knocked off 100 kids immediately that didn't stay for the full 5 days because they met their requirements. Their tardies went. They're no longer a tardy issue. And then another 50 dropped off, and now she's really dealing from that first group with just, she said between around 18 students that are still having some chronic tardies. So that's been a big success. They've since then have started new groupings of students, of interventions. One is based on, and you can see with the little red here, one is based on people leaving campus and going out for lunch when it's a closed campus. So they've grabbed in those students. And the next thing they're going to do is they're going to grab students who are cutting class, not just going beyond those things, because they've had a lot of success with the protocol that they're using. And where that is in here, but I don't know if you guys also remember the 2x10 program she started based on those, when they were writing those. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I can't remember the word of what those are called. When they write their review, when they write down their reflections, thank you. I know we started with an R. And when they did that initially with those 250 students, there were 50 students that said in those that they didn't have a person on campus they felt safe with, an adult. So Dr. Ballotta started a program called 2x10, which meant that for 10 days, she wanted an adult, a teacher, to grab the student and talk to them for 2 minutes, not about their class that they're in with them, but just to talk to them about whatever's going on with life, and do it over a 10-day period to develop a relationship so that they could feel like they had a adult on campus that they could trust. She said she sent that out on a Friday afternoon, and that by 7 p.m. that night, she had 90% of those kids were already taken care of. I think since then she's filled them, but I think some teachers then did email her and say, I have a student, a few different teachers emailed and said, I have a student I want you to put on that list that we can include and do this 2x10 intervention. She doesn't have any data yet on how that's going. Honestly, I'm sorry, I don't remember if she told me that she even implemented it yet, but I do know that she's working on that. And then I'm going to tell you this other report. So here are some things, because she is the director of climate and culture, and especially after having remote learning, and there's a lot of people not feeling a part of the community anymore because we had that huge break in being a community. So there's also community building that she does. And so what's happening is for the, I don't know if it's 95% of students, but about 3,700 students who aren't in these interventions, they want to do things to reward them for showing up, for doing their work, for being on time. And so I don't really know who Matt Kessler is. I'm not sure if he's a teacher.
AD.
Okay.
Athletic director.
Okay, he's the athletic director. So I don't know if he owns the Tasty Freeze
No.
or somebody in his family or has a relationship with the Tasty Freeze, but there's a week where there's 3 home games in baseball, and they're gonna do an event where they have free blizzards after school for all of these students. And the students on the SBC said, we want to include the students in the program who improved and got out of the interventions as well, not just, as a reward for them. So they'll be included as well, and they will have I don't know, have a coupon or something to get a blizzard after school, and then be invited to stay for the home game. She also talked about that same day renting dunking machines. I don't, yeah, Mr. Levins said, I'm not doing that again. And then, so then there's also within the SOAR program, there's Let's SOAR shout outs that staff as well as students can recommend other staff and students to shout out for following the SOAR acronym, communicators, open-minded, caring, and principled. And so that has started, and I don't know if that goes out in emails, but it goes out on the website to give shout outs to people. Oh, and then the third thing was the 2x10 protocol, and that's there. And then, let's see, the last thing is, we've completed having a complete conflict resolution specialist team. That was completed by hiring Dr. Balloting. So that's solidified now, and I do feel like that's why we're seeing a lot of these improvements with the tardies and with other things that are going on with what she's implemented, with what Mr. Glowacz has implemented. You can always go on the website under About, under LSC. There is our email twice. It's taftlsc@gmail.com. Mr. Connolly, who's the chair, and I'm the vice chair, we can both access that email. So whoever just want to ask a parent a question, feel free to email. That's what we're here for.
Thanks,
That's my
Alex.
report.
Thanks, Alex.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alex. All right, next we have the Student Voice Committee. Princess, I'm sorry, could you speak up? We're in a bigger room. It's hard to hear you down here.
So the Student Voice Committee, we have been able to get freshmen towards the end of March on the same day as STEM night, which is May the 3rd. Note that down the calendar. So as you know, we have 2 campuses, and sometimes it's really hard for the freshmen to navigate when they become sophomores. So we really thought it was important that they were able to come and get somebody from the Marcy campus to just show them around and kind of talk to them about the climate and culture of the Marcy campus. So that's one of the things we're doing. That's how it's going to tell you guys what the other thing.
So we have coordinated with the student government, and so on March 24th, we'll have a Taft versus the 16th District Police basketball game, just to kind of together and really get to know them, because they are the only police district that we have, and then like the Taft, so we really want to just, like, it's really good stuff for community builder. And we're gonna have a halftime show at that game, and we have gotten so far Filipino with the Bullet Club to do just like a short little like cultural dance or something, just to like kind of spread awareness of the different cultures that we have. And we also have made t-shirts for the event, so those will be the people who are playing and for the people who are like setting it up, as well as I think we maybe, oh yes, we are going to be selling t-shirts as well. Also, this is a little bit of a different feel, but there was a walkout at Taft last week, so that the student was that was a part of what we did try eventually to help organize. So I'm going to try and clear things up about that. So first of all, we did try and help organize the walkout. We did not start the walk. Just to be fair, we were not the ones who started it, but we did try to organize it after we found that it was happening. We did not try to take it over, but we did have an open forum that anybody could go to talk about just like kind of the rules of having a walkout, what you should do. I would say that some of our efforts were misunderstood by some students. There were some things going around on social media that were not true. And none of the students that were in the student voice committee did attend the walkout. Nobody did. And we didn't really see a clear message from the vast majority of students who were walking out. And we're currently trying to get more students to be a part of SBC because we really saw that the real issue a lot of students were dealing with was that they thought that they couldn't really like communicate with like admin different things. And we said this in the open forum as well, that like they are always open to come to the student voice committee or email anybody in the student voice committee or even email any admin. I feel like a lot of students aren't really aware of how accessible it is to them. And that made it difficult and maybe cause a walkout. But you know, if they do come to like student voice committee or local school council or anything, like they'll really see that we are accessible to go to and stuff. And that's all for our updates.
Thanks, Natalia.
Thank you. Next item is new business. We have an LSC advisory committee vote to do. I have the ballots here. I'm going to pass them out. If you could, there's only one candidate on the ballot, so if you could vote if you choose to, and then put the ballot in this envelope so no one knows who you voted for. That would be great. And I also have a sign-in sheet. I'll bring out for everyone.
Oh, sorry, we just have one microphone in the middle. And so we'll try to just make sure that everybody tries to project their voice towards the middle. Oh, they should be all muted.
Is it only one candidate?
It's
Paul, you muted the virtual people.
all right.
Is there?
Sorry.
Wait till public participation, please, Garrett.
We'll
Okay.
get there in a minute. All right. Okay, so the next item on this agenda is something that a lot of people are probably here about. Please keep in mind that public participation will take place further down the agenda. It'll be the next item. So this is a moment for the LSC to talk about this item because it's on the agenda. That's how these meetings work. After that item, when we get to public participation, if you choose to speak, you'll have 2 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna.
Oh, I was gonna say, there's a sheet. Some people came in late, if you want to sign up on the Under the public participation.
And so, yeah, if you do want to speak, please make sure your name is on here and make sure it's legible so we can, call you up to take your turn.
No. This is about the LSAB. If you voted on it, I think.
No.
Okay.
All right. So, so I'm going to start by just mentioning some of the things that I've seen and concerns that I've heard, seen posted places and emails that I've received. I would like to share that I think things at this school are going well. I think that some of the concerns that are out there in the public are based on information, but that information, at whatever point it was discovered and the school was notified, the school followed the procedure. That procedure includes notifying CPS, more broadly, the Office of Safety, and then it also includes notifying the police department, the Chicago Police Department. Now, I trust that through those levels of investigation and concern, that the correct decision was arrived at, that a conclusion was arrived at, and that I'm going to trust that conclusion. I'm going to trust that the school followed the advice of the police department and the CPS Office of Safety. That's part of how this works. You get information and then an investigation is conducted. I have faith that if someone heard something about me, if there was an investigation, they're going to arrive at the correct conclusion. They're going to arrive at the result that's accurate. And that's what I think happened here. Now, there is more information that's out there that people have been sharing that really should not be shared. And that leads to other situations that are possibly even more dangerous than the one people were worried about here. And so, we all want to protect our children, but while we're protecting them, we're teaching them things. We're teaching them how to trust people, where to trust them, who to go to for help. And in this situation, they went to the people for help. They came to the school. They went to the school, went to the police and the Office of Safety. And that's part of what we want our children to do. Go to the right people when you need help, and then let that help happen. And so that's how I feel about this current situation. I wanted to share that with the LSC and the public. But this is an item on the agenda. If the LSC has comments or discussion, we can do that. I'll invite Principal Chris Schaber to make any comments if you'd like to.
No, do you want me to give you events that led up to the walkout?
If there's anything you can help with that will help some of the members of this community understand some of the events that led up to it. I understand there's a lot you can't say.
I understand, yeah.
But then also maybe, what's going to be happening in the future if we find ourselves in this situation again, the school's plan, so we can hopefully feel comfortable that we've
Right.
got it
Let me give you a walkout of the last 3 weeks. So thanks everybody for being here. I just want to start by saying thank you to about the 100 parents that reached out to me and just said, Mr. G, we trust what you're doing over there. We're not believing what we read, and we understand the school is safe, and that really made me feel good. 3 weeks ago, we had an email that was sent to us saying something about the school. And what had happened really was they took an email and they took a couple of words out of that email, and it sounded bad in the email when you take a couple of words out of somebody's sentence. We immediately do what we're supposed to do. We called CPS Office of Security, CPS Office of Communication, so they can craft a letter for us, and also the Chicago Police Department. Chicago Police Department immediately made an investigation. We take these very seriously. We don't wait. When we come in and we get these things, this is item number one on what we do that day. They found that it was non-credible at all, not even close to being credible. So I put the email out. I usually don't put an email out like that, and I'll be honest with you, because it happens too often. And if I was to really put an email out every time, you might get one every 2 weeks. Because unfortunately, these kids sometimes think that they can kind of smear somebody else by saying, hey, they said that they're going to do this to the school. And then when we come down to it, they were like, no, I was just mad at this kid. So I can't put an email out every time. It would be, number one, it would be, we'd be paranoid. And number two, we would be numb to any credible situation. So I just don't do that. The reason why I send out letters when you do get those letters is when I start to see it gets legs a little bit. where it's not going away. And I get some teachers coming to me. My kids are talking about this. And so it really is a gauge on whether or not I send anything out. This one seemed to be getting some legs, so I talked to CPS Communications. And I'll be honest with you, they're doing a really good job. In previous years, sometimes it took 8 hours to get that communication out. We've had instances in the past where we had, as an example, somebody saw somebody driving in a car and it was on the nightly news. And I'm like, please let me send that, but they have to vet it through everybody. But right now, communication is streamlining that thing. So we got something within an hour about what we're supposed to send. So I sent it out. Basically, I tell you the same thing. CPS investigated it. Chicago Police Department investigated it. Not a credible threat. Hoping it goes away. And it usually does with about 90% of our people. But unfortunately, this thing took legs on the blogs around the Northwest side here, and it just kept going and going. And then I called CPS Communications. I said, this is not going away. And so they gave me another email that said, put this one out. And so I put another one out on that Tuesday. And it was basically the same thing. Listen, we've investigated it. I sat with our SRO, who also has a student that goes to Taft, and we sat in the office and we were like, it's like, Mark, I don't know what's going on here. It's just like it's just like taking legs of itself, and these rumor mills have gotten out of hand. And so I said, well, I'll put another email out. Maybe a second email will help everybody. And it was pretty much the same thing. Not a credible thought thing. CPS, CPD, everybody looked at it. It's fine, everybody. And it was still getting legs, okay? I put another, and on Wednesday, it was still getting legs, and they sent an email saying, or I talked to communications again, and they sent me a standard email. And the standard email, which you've all read, is like, we've taken threats there seriously, the safety of our kids, and this threat. And I go, you got to stop that. I asked them, can you please reword this? Because when you say the threat is not credible, there was no threat. There was never a threat on this thing. What happened then on this Sunday, this past Sunday at 1 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from safety and security saying there's a threat online. And what it was the same exact thing. Some student was talking to another student and took 2 words out of his email and sent it to us, sent it to parents. They're calling the 16th district. 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm there and we're investigating this thing, non-credible, okay? So I'll just stop here. As a teaching moment, our kids are doing exactly what we want them to do. Department of Homeland Security has said the #1 way you stop shooters in your building is that you get kids to trust the adults, and when they see something, say something. But I have to do a better job of educating our students. Next year when we meet, or maybe even before the end of the year, I'm gonna say, see something, say something responsibly. It's not you tell an adult and figure that it's gonna be handled and it's gonna be fine. Don't then email all of your friends and say, this is what happened. Let us do that investigation, because it can be a rampant fear that goes through the school. So the second one that came out, we did it, and again, we're like, oh my God, this is piggybacking on the first one. This is unbelievable. And then the blogs went off again. They were putting this poor kid's name online. The parent was getting phone calls from people. It was the worst case of bullying I've ever seen on an innocent kid. And it was shameful. And so we put everything out. I heard that the kids are gonna go on strike, or not on strike, but they're gonna walk out. I've been in CPS too long. They're gonna have a walkout. We met with the Student Voice Committee. I said, where is this gonna happen? And they said, Mr. G, we don't think it's gonna stop, it's gonna happen. I said, okay, let's talk about this. And I said, what I want you to do is, let's do this. You can do this, and there's guidelines for CPS. We teach kids how to peacefully protest stuff. It's in our civics courses that when you want to change something, you don't just sit back. There's ways to do it. And so CPS embraces student voice and says, if you want to do this, these are the guidelines. You can walk out of the building. We recommend that you stay there for 30 or 40 minutes, make your point, and come back in. Okay, so I talked to the Student Voice Committee. We all met and I explained to them what's happened. I said, what I don't want this to turn into is a witch hunt. What I don't want this to turn into is our kids are talking to the newscast about this kid's name, and now it's going to be worse than it is. And they agreed, and so we decided as a Student Voice Committee, we didn't know who this rogue group of students was. I had no idea. I was out there listening to them talk to the news reporters, and like, administration doesn't listen to us. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I mean, come to me. I think 90% of my kids feel comfortable coming to my door. Like I said, they'll come to me if there's a hair in the green beans. They'll come to me. But for some reason, this group didn't feel comfortable doing it. I talked to the Student Voice Committee. They didn't know who it was. So I was hoping the Student Voice Committee could talk to everybody and say, listen, let's have the walkout. But what we're going to do is we'll talk about the issues are going to be mental healthness and violence in schools. That's perfect. Okay, We had the meeting after school, and I think 15 kids showed up. They were up there, and I appreciate you ladies being up there. And they just, the rogue group, we had said, you know what, go out for 30 minutes, come back in, and we'll be fine. When I was out there, I was asking kids, why are you walking? And they're like, I want to go to lunch. That was what they were telling me. And I'm telling you right now, the only time our kids were not safe last week was when they walked out of the building. They're perfectly safe in this building, but when they walk out, I even said, I saw another email or another blast that said, don't listen to administration. He said, go out for 30 minutes, we're all going home. And I'm like, no, I don't want you walking the streets of Chicago in the middle of the day. Do your protest and come back in. Luckily, we did have a meeting with the seniors the day before, 2 days before, saying if you walk out of the building, stuff like that, you have the right to protest, but only be out there 30 minutes and then come back in because you don't want to get dinged for prom and everything. So we didn't have a lot of seniors out there. So after that happened, the student walkout happened. We had about 300 kids walk out on varsity. About 200 came back. We had about 300 walk out at the freshman academy, and they were all at McDonald's. And about 100 of them came back. That's just the truth of it. So like I said, there was no threat. There was never a threat. This is something that took legs. And I know I'm taking slings and arrows for this thing, and I'm fine with that because I've been sticking up and going against bullies my whole life. I didn't get this face by backing down, okay? So I'm standing in front of this young man saying, sling him at me, because I don't want him on this kid right here. And I would do it for anybody in this school right now. If one of your kids was being bullied like this, I'd stand up and say, no, we're not gonna do that. Throw him at me, not this kid. So that's exactly what happened. It didn't help that the WGN had a false statement online, and it was just blatant lie. And I had CPS Communications. Can you call them and say they just lied online? And it doesn't help our cause. So then we put another email out. Contrary to what you hear on the news, it didn't happen again. But I think that people want to hear what they want to hear. I think honestly, we have some people that are just want to diss Taft sometimes, but our kids are perfectly safe at our school. And like I said, the only time they weren't safe last week is when they walked out of the building. My kids are safe in the building. So that's all I have. We'll take questions from the LSC though.
I do want to, because I was talking about Dr. Bellata's presentation, Mr. Levins also said that, and I know it's due to everything that happened. He was, going to other schools to look at their safety measures, to compare what we're doing and what they're doing, and that they're doing some reconfiguring. And I know it's already happened at the TFA, and it will roll out this Monday at the varsity campus, where they're going to make sure that they scan every student ID. And at the large schools in CPS, they said that their goal is to get 50% of their population through the metal detectors. So that I think is now going to become, what we also aim to achieve. But he's still working and collaborating with these other schools. He just doesn't have a full plan to roll out yet. So that's why this was just kind of in the corner. But I do want to say that things are already in the works to do more that the administration is doing. So I just wanted to share. Right,
and I get that every time we do this. What about metal detectors? What about metal detectors? And I'll tell you, metal detectors work really well when there's no other entrances into the building. The problem with us is we can't always run metal detectors every day, because if I got 3 or 4 officers that are out, that puts us in a really precarious situation where I am running the metal detectors and I have nobody else in the building. And it's real easy to say, let me in door number 8, let me in door number 7. So that's the times when we won't run them. Right now, we're going to institute, Mr. Levins is working on it. We're going to change our procedures, and we think that we can bump up probably 30 or 40% more kids coming in through the door when by using a new procedure at both campuses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I may too,
Sure.
I received a blog, or I think it was a blog yesterday, somebody sent it to me, and it was about a walkout for today. And then I heard on the news this was Elmwood Park. So I think there was, that all happened at the same time. I think there was a little confusion.
Natalia?
Sorry. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I was gonna also talk about Mr. Gershaver's point of the purpose of protesting and the purpose of walkouts. I feel like what happened, the students saw something and immediately were like, well, nobody listens to us and nobody does anything, which I have not seen as true. Remind you the Taft, I'm a junior. But I would also say that I feel like they really misconstrued what the purpose of a protest is. Because especially for the students, none of the students who I saw on any of the news stations or who were walking out actually went to like our forum or anything like that, which is not a problem with me. But I would say a big issue is that they didn't go to the right people to actually talk about what they wanted. Because they were talking about like, oh, I don't feel like safe at school, I don't do whatever. But if you don't feel that way, you actually have to go and talk and set up measures and have things and have a purpose to your protest. And if you don't actually have that, there is no purpose for a protest. Everything just gets confusing, and then kids are just like, oh, well, it's the time to leave school. Like the reason why there are extreme, like not extreme, but just protesting such as like walkouts, strikes, and different things, is because the people in the authorities you're going to aren't listening to you. And when you actually have people who are willing to listen to you, but you want to like say no, I want to do different things, then you can't actually make effective change. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. No effective change was made because nobody actually went up and decided to create that change. And I find that very frustrating as a student because I feel like it kind of made us look very bad for a lot of other schools as well as the media because there were lies and there were people not actually doing, doing protesting, but not actually having the right protest or intent.
Thanks, Natalia. And I'll also add that, when we have issues like this, there's a student code of conduct, and it's called student roles and responsibilities. We have to follow that letter of the law. So if you've done this, there's no, let's talk about maybe we can do this. It spells it out exactly what we can do. If you've done the same thing again, then it bumps up to the next level. We don't have that leeway to be subjective and say, well, he's a football player, let him go. We don't do that. It's exactly what it said in the student code of conduct is what we can do. The problem is, and I think you all understand, is everybody has a right of privacy. And I think what's misconstrued right now is if people are like, what are you doing to him? Why is he not suspended? I can't share any of that with anybody because he has the right of privacy, and people need to understand that that's a given. You got to give people their privacy, but understand whatever it was, and in this case, it was nothing because he did nothing wrong. I can't even share that with you. I can't share anything that we've done to kids or any discipline with kids, just like you wouldn't want that shared with any of your kids. You wouldn't want that out there, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there, oh,
Princess?
I also think the problem may be that people may not know exactly who to go to when things happen. I don't think people really know who to talk to in certain cases when you need to report them or you want to make change. So I think like kind of like clarifying who exactly goes if you have a problem, you say you have a problem, that would help people to feel uncomfortable.
Right. And in fact, I know when we get a complaint like this because I'll wake up in the morning, I'll look at my text and I'll have 150 texts. And I know exactly what it is. It's kids talking to the trusted adult that they feel good with, and the adult coming to me saying, Mr. G, just so you know, you might know about this, but just in case. And I'm like, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I just want to say one more thing now as a parent, not as a safety and security report. This is my 7th year at as a CPS parent, and those form letters are really frustrating. I feel like if you haven't been involved, I almost would rather not see the form letter. Now, because I've been here for so long, or I was at Amundsen and then here, I know what those letters mean and I know what the procedures are. So I understand what's happening, but that's me. And even so, I still, when I saw those form letters come out, I was very frustrated. So I understand, especially when you're not involved with the procedures and who has time to know what the procedures are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you think your kid is in danger, the majority of your brain shuts off and you're in that portion where you're just trying to make sure that your kid is safe. And I'm glad to see so many people here tonight because I think it's really important as a community to understand how these things work, because it is a fearful time. And there are schools, people bringing in weapons and kids getting shot in schools all the time. And so, I appreciate that there's a lot of people really upset and really scared. But I do agree, I didn't know anything about this student and I didn't know what was happening, but I'm really shocked to learn that parents handled that by attacking a student, that then there wasn't even an actual threat by the student. Not that you should attack them if there was a threat, but we don't know anything about the student or their life. I just think that I'm shocked by how that happened. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know, and it seems the vagueness of the correspondence from CPS breeds an era of non-transparency, unfortunately. But unfortunately, those are the rules we're playing by right now, but I do agree with you.
Thank you.
But I want to say one more thing,
Certainly.
because some of my parents are saying, Mr. G, what can I do as a parent? And I'm going to tell everybody what you can do. If your son or daughter is coming to you and they're scared, say, listen, the principal has put a statement out. This is not a credible threat. Okay, I trust the principal. It's not a credible threat. And if it was, we would know. There's nothing I gain by washing a credible threat under the table. I take that very seriously. That's my number one concern, just like CPS is. So how you can help your students to say, no, the principal put this out, it's fine. Everything was saying it's not credible. So what you're hearing right now, these are all rumors. So that's how you can help us.
As a member of the community, I would say yes, this was definitely concerning and it was scary to read. But I think what would have clarified a lot to people in the community and probably parents is to get a timeline for all these events. So an email was received, when did you act on it? And you contacted CPS at the time and then CPE at that time, and perhaps that would clarify that there was a resolution that you were working on it.
And I will say that I did. On each one of those threats, a communication was sent out at 8:30 in the morning on both of those. But unfortunately, between the correspondence, this thing was getting legs, and I can't gauge the legs because I don't pay attention to the blogs at all. So I don't know what the gauge is. All I know is when I get calls from some of my parents, Mark, what's going on? Everything good? Yeah. Then I know, okay, maybe I got to dial this up a little bit because it's starting to get some legs here.
Are you permitted to send those emails to interested members of the community or parents only?
I think it's just parents, but I'll let parents know, just copy and paste and put it in your, blog 41 and all these other rogue sites out there, put it in there and say, this is what the principal said. Pardon me?
And you did.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
Kelly was communicating with that.
Right.
But yeah, there was that question about this, email was from a student was viewed at this time and no action was taken for hours. And I think that was a big concern and a lot of them wrong.
Right. And you're right, because it happened at 1:30 in the morning and it wasn't until 8:30 in the morning when we were able to act on it. So yeah, they're right on that. But again, it's as timely as we can be. And again, I put kudos out to communications because they're acting a lot quicker to quell a lot of these rumors.
I just have a comment, and it's, my daughter is a sophomore, and she came to me and gave me her opinion about the whole situation, and she literally threw Mr. G under the bus for everything.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, what are you doing? And she came back at me and said, what about my right to my own opinion?
Right.
I said, you can have your own opinion, but you are basing everything you're saying to me on rumors, piled upon rumors, piled upon rumors. You need to take a breath, take a minute, and step back. And first of all, Mr. G has CPS helping him, tell him what to do and the safety protocols. He's got the police department helping him, and he has his Taft has their own policies that they're putting into place. And if he says that everything is going according to plan based on these three things, then that's what you need to be aware of, is it stop using social media, your friend's opinion, to gather your own opinion. And that is part of our job as parents to kind of stall the fake news that is out there on every subject, not just this subject. And I try to tell my kids every day, form your own opinion, please, but make sure it is in fact and not in rumors or fiction.
Can I just say that made my night that your daughter came back at you and said, I have my own opinion. So I think we're teaching her well. So I like that. Yeah, well, you're raising her well. And we're right. That's fine. That's a Taft student. That's beautiful. I love that.
Are there any other comments from the LSC about this agenda item? Okay, then we'll move on to public participation.
All right. Thanks everybody who signed up for public participation. This is a reminder, it's been a long night already, so that is why we ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes. I'll give you a gentle reminder when 2 minutes is up. And so I will just call people up in order. And so when you come up, please say your name so that the people who are watching the stream can hear it clearly. So first we do have Garrett McFlynn. Mr. McFlynn.
Where should I stand?
The mic's closest there.
Okay,
So.
okay.
Hey, Garrett.
Thank you, LSC students, members of the LSC, nice work, thank you. Thank you, parents, staff that I know, people online, thank you, supporters and audience, thank you. First, hello, my name is Garrett McFlynn. I was the head girls cross-country coach, head girls track and field coach, head assistant JV wrestling coach, head girls summer running coach. I was hired to coach in 2011. I was hired to teach at Taft in 2018. On February 8th, 2023, I was forced to resign by our administration from coaching. Our administration assured me 5 times that this would not affect my day job. This was a lie. CPS and CTU are forcing me to complete a fit for service process. 2 weeks prior to this, I was rated fully distinguished in all categories by Ms. Hess, the principal here at the freshman building. All categories of teaching by the Danielson model. And earlier in the year, rated by you, all categories in the Danielson model, distinguished as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At the start of the track and field season this year, I wanted to split the boys and girls teams up. I went to AD Kessler and AP Glowatz with facts and data to back this. I found out in these 2 meetings separately, with these 2 individuals separately, just me and them, that over the last 8 years, there's been OSP reports, that's Office of Student Protections reports, to CPS over the course of this time, based on the interactions between the boys and the girls on the track and field and cross-country teams. My goal was to separate these teams, giving 100% of the staff members over to the girls, 3 of them, and then 3 staff members over to the boys 100% of the time. The girls would practice over here at the TFA. The assistant principals assured me that they had my side. Over this period of time, 8 years, Office of Student Protections had known this. I had no idea. I was not privy to this information until those 2 meetings with AP Glowatz, which was the previous athletic director, and AD Kessler, which is the current athletic director. The next day, a girl came to some coaches and told them that she felt uncomfortable by a boy on the team. Those coaches did not tell me. Once I forced the information out of one of the coaches, I end up telling the next day, Mr. Harris over here, which told AP Hess. AP Hess told me to call AD Kessler. AD Kessler then ran it up to Dean Zilch. Dean Zilch handled the information and subsequent reports. I then was not,
Excuse me.
thank you.
Thank you.
I would ask real quick, Garrett is a member of our staff. I think he's warranted 1 more minute. I think that's fair, if there's no objections.
I don't have any.
Please take another minute, Garrett.
Thank
okay?
you.
You've earned
Thank
that.
you, sir.
Sure.
The next day, the girls came to the 3 coaches. These 3 coaches colluded on the situation, and I pressed them. They told me I ran this information up to the appropriate people through CPS and then to DCFS because I was not satisfied with what was happening. I later find out that I also should have called the police department. And Now I know that CPS is not following this policy appropriately, the mandated reporter policy. Furthermore, once administration and the other staff had found out that I wanted to split the teams, their tune had changed. Now, I was looked at as the problem. It has come to my attention that Taft High School is now violating mandated reporter law, Title IX law, and CPS and CTU are also violating the Patient Self-Determination Act and the the informed consent law. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Ms. Winford. Next is Jennifer Polisi. Ms. Polisi?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Polisi. I'm a Taft parent. We're here today. I'm here with other parents and some of the members of the track team to bring up two concerns that are closely related: the resignation of track coach McLean and the school shooting threat last week. Coach McLean is beloved by both boys and girls on the cross country and track and field teams. He has encouraged and inspired many students, has always been willing to hear from them, and has demonstrated his commitment to the students by attending meets and competitions, as have all the coaches. It is our understanding that a young man on the track team acted inappropriately toward a female team member, and Coach McLean brought this to the attention of the administration. It is our understanding that the administration did not want to bring attention to the school by addressing the inappropriate behavior of this young man. It is our understanding that Coach McLean was told that he was unfit to coach and was told to have a psychological or psychiatric evaluation. Coach McLean resigned suddenly, stating that he was concerned that the school administration was not prioritizing the safety of students. None of this information was shared with track team parents. Requests for meetings to clarify what happened were not granted. This young man then upped the ante and made threats to bring a gun to school. This was addressed by police over the weekend of March 4th to 5th. There was an email sent to Taft families on Monday that addressed this threat and noted that it was handled by police. Students and parents quickly realized that the students making the threats was the same student on the track team who had acted inappropriately and whose behavior was not addressed by school administration. By not addressing the student's behavior in a timely manner, the first time he acted inappropriately, the entire school population was put at risk. It is also our understanding that this individual needs some additional support.
Thank you.
We hope he's getting that support now. We're concerned about the lack of action regarding the student's behavior the first time he acted inappropriately, as well as the consequences for Coach McLean, who was doing his job to protect students as a mandated reporter. We are concerned about the lack of transparency regarding both of these situations. We are asking that Coach McLean be invited back as a coach and then an apology be made. We have not communicated with Coach McLean. All we know is the result of hearing our kids and talking to each other. The Taft track community is very tight, and we as parents, as well as parents from other schools, are concerned. We are aware that when parents complain, coaches have been asked by administration to keep their parents in line, and we certainly hope there will be no negative ramifications for any of the coaches because we've heard today. In addition, I object to the word rogue used to describe people in the community and online and students. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Foster. As a parent of a couple of track athletes, I'm dismayed by the dismissal of Coach McLean's concerns. He is a stand-up guy whose commitment to Taft athletics and athletes is to be commended. For example, right at the start of the season, he spent time with my husband and I to hear our and our daughter's concerns. That same week, he spent 2 hours again with my husband and I, along with our daughter, to hear her concerns. Not once did he dismiss us, but validated our feelings and showed my daughter, to which I'm forever grateful. In addition, I've seen him support his athletes at non-school sanctioned track meets, being a cheerleader and a presence there. This is a guy who cares, and I believe everything he does is for the care and concern of the students at Taft High School.
Virginia Jimenez, Ms. Jimenez.
My questions were answered earlier with the conversation in regards to the safety of the school. I was more interested in the timeline of how things rolled out, because I agree that the CPS letters are kind of dry. They seem a little bit disconcerting.
Yeah.
And I think parents want to feel that no matter whether or not it's credible or not credible, that voices are being heard and that it's being taken serious. So when you sort of break down the timeline as to when you got the information and what you did next, I think that brings us some ease.
Thank you, Virginia. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ms. Mahan. Diane.
Hi, I'm a parent of a sophomore daughter. Mr. G, my husband and I spoke with your report card pickup concerning security concerns that we had, and he specifically stated that and reassured us that they were safe at the school. Remember, I got upset with you and I said, in the perfect world, that's not what we live in. You cannot say with certainty the children are safe.
I can't.
And to repeatedly say that, and you know, these kids going out to protest that, because from what I saw through them on the news, they were scared. They're not feeling safe. My own daughter told me since grade school she hasn't felt safe going to school. It's the reality, unfortunately, they live in. What I feel is that it's kind of dismissed. I reached out to you. I sent an email. I never got a response back. I called the network office. I never got a response back. This is when it first told to me. Someone called me up and said, "Bring your daughter to school today." When there's stuff going on like that, immediately something should have been sent. I called the office and the girl that answered the phone was in the best mood ever, all giddy and everything. And this is out and everybody's all like, nobody knows what's going on. There was too long of a delay in the communication being sent out to parents.
I agree.
I have children at other high schools and CPS, boom, right away, it's under investigation, but they let you know that the problem's been addressed. With that, we're on it, we'll give you a further update. That's not what happened here. So of course, everything's gonna explode. I don't go on any of the social media stuff. I'm not part of any of it. So I don't know the all ins and outs. I understand there was an investigation done. Information's powerful. It needs to be given to all stakeholders that are involved, the teachers, the parents, the administrators. I don't feel there's a good enough partnership that's taking place here at Taft. I would like to see it strengthened with the parents part of this. We're in this partnership together. Communication is vital. If I leave my daughter at school, the expectation is that she's safe in that school, she's in the class that she is signed up to be in, she's not roaming the halls. I walk over at Norwood Park, I count 30-some kids at a given day that are out wandering. If it's supposed to be a closed campus, my concern is, why are they not using one door once they're in the school building to enter and exit out of with their student ID? How these kids are allowed just to walk freely is beyond me. Beyond me. I just can't understand that at all. And I'm not that old, so it's not that long ago that I was in high school. It is a big safety concern that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Mann.
Okay, let me just address that one real quick, because right now we have 15 doors and we cannot lock the doors. And so kids can leave at any door they can. We cannot stop them when they leave. And when they come back, we can't, because it's against the law to stop kids from leaving the building. It's a CPS policy. I cannot physically stop a student if they want to leave the building. That's the law. And then when they come back, we do it. What we've done right now, we've instituted something a couple of weeks ago. As soon as they come back, and they all come back door number one. So we try to funnel them back into door number one because we've got cameras all over the place. When they come back, they scan the IDs and we're calling home and letting the parents know, just so you know, your son or daughter left the building, or possibly they're just arriving at the building right now. So that's just the law.
It just blows my mind that Taft is such a problem. I'm sorry.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
It is a problem.
Let's carry this on
Yeah,
after
okay.
the meeting.
We have one more, John Cohen. Mr. Cohen?
Hey, John Cohen, teacher, frequent public commenter. My stuff is fairly trivial in comparison to issues that have been raised tonight.
but we had some late-breaking good news, and I'll always take an opportunity to brag on our kids. So Allison Pozo, Amina Calvano, and Danish Garapati, and Crystal Ariosa are your Chicago Debate League Blue Conference champions this year. Yesterday, too late for it to make it into the meeting agenda, that Adelaide Reynoso, a senior and starring in 95, which you so generously plugged, went down state and finished fifth in the state in Poetry Out Loud. So,
nice. Thanks, Tom.
That concludes public participation, Mr. Connolly. And the next item on the agenda is to move to closed session for the principal evaluation discussion. Do you want to explain for our guests?
Certainly. So for the next item on the agenda is the principal evaluation discussion. It's required that we do that in a closed session. A closed session means that it's just members of the LSC minus Principal Krishaber. After the closed session, we go back into open session. Anyone who would like to wait is allowed to wait. We turn the computer back on and we get that going again. But for the discussion about Principal Krishaber's evaluation, we need everyone else to leave the room. I'm gonna let you ask a question. What's going on?
I didn't know there was one spot for students. Can I say something?
Does anyone object to another public comment?
Just make sure you introduce yourself.
Please come up and write your name so that we can reflect it in the minutes.
Yeah. I want to hear from our kids.
Sure.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people talking about like the student safety and stuff, and I think everyone that I saw talk doesn't actually go to the school or goes to class or goes to the bathroom in the school or, you know, has lunch in the lunchroom. And I think like the biggest thing for me is that, like you said, students are safe in the school. Whenever I go to the bathroom, I usually have to hold my breath because I have breathing issues. If there's someone vaping, it causes my lungs to close. I don't really like doing that in school. And I don't really kind of hold my breath when I'm, you know, just using the bathroom. I have been given the option to use a private bathroom. Nothing has gone through with that. I don't really care. It doesn't really like matter that much to me. And then in terms of leaving the building, you know, I do have the, you know, luxury of living like right across the street, which is very nice. But I have been able sometimes to just get my mom to call me out so I can literally go home just to use the bathroom. And there's been a couple of times where I've walked into the bathroom and been threatened to get jumped because I accidentally bumped into someone wrong, or, you know, I was asking to wash my hands, grabbing like a paper towel, and, you know, there's these kids who, it's a safe school, you know, but we're pulling these random kids in, we don't know who they are, I don't know who they are, they don't seem like they want to go to school to learn, they're just there to hang out with their friends and get into fights. And it's been multiple times, nothing's really happened. If I were to ever get threatened with a fight, I'd probably just run away, to be totally honest.
Good.
But in terms of safety at the school, it's really like it's not controlled. I mean, I've seen security guards walk into the bathroom and get hits of vapes from the kids that they're supposed to be taking those away from. They're like, hey, you guys can go, just hurry up, let me get into that before you leave. Like who are we hiring? Like this is insane, absolutely crazy. And the fact that they're allowed to just even come in and do this, I'm like, you know, it's a little tough to like do all these background checks and you can't really control what they're doing, right? You're not putting cameras on them. But I mean, I've seen it happen. I stayed quiet about it like my whole life because I didn't really care. You know, I'm gonna be out of here in like 3 months, and once I'm gone, I'm gone. I don't really care anymore. But I mean, I failed to see any sort of like change or, you know, when I was here freshman year, it was great. Like I saw, you know, Miss Smith, I miss her so much, but she would go in the bathroom and she'd be looking under the stalls, grabbing kids' vapes from their hands, you know. It was crazy. I would sometimes forget my lunch in the locker and I would go out and like 2 minutes, I had a security guard on me saying, hey, what are you doing? Why are you in the hall during class without all that? Like, oh, I forgot my lunch. Okay, cool. Now, I don't know, I see maybe 150 kids per period just walking the halls with backpacks on, and the T-birds, hey, what are we doing? Let's get to class. What do the students do? Oh, F off. That's all they do. That's all they get. The only response. So yeah, that's how I feel about school safety as someone who actually goes to the school and is not an IB kid, because the IB kids seem to be shuffled around in such a way that they don't really interact with any of these, I don't know what you call them, unschoolers. So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please come by my office tomorrow. If you can please come by my office tomorrow, I'd like to know the name of the security guard, please, okay? Thank you so much.
All right, so like I was saying, I'm gonna, after the motion if the motion to go into closed session to discuss the principal evaluation is approved, when we go into closed session, I'm gonna ask everyone to leave the room, and we're gonna pause the computer so that we can have this discussion in private. It's a personnel matter, and that's why it happens in private. After we come back into open session, you're free to wait, I guess. Are they free to wait in the hallway, or?
They can, but
Okay.
I'm going home.
Okay, but
I'll talk to anybody in the hallway if you want to still talk some more. I'll stick around.
But the only thing that is going to happen after we come out of closed session is that we might have a vote on the evaluation, and then the meeting will end. There won't be anything else to discuss. So I'm going to motion to go into a closed session.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
Motion is to go into closed session with a brief break. It's currently 8:04. We'll give our guests some time to leave, and we'll resume closed session at 8:08. Ms. Barron is yes. Ms. Baloo, Ms. Becker? Yes. Ms. Candelaria is yes. Ms. Barone? Yes. Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Sheila?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
I get it.
Mr. Porter?
Thank you.
Mr. Grayshauber?
Yes.
Ms. Minor?
Take care, man. We'll see you.
Ms.
I
Minor?
won't be in tomorrow. My mom's in the hospital.
Ms. Minor?
Yeah, she's not doing well.
Sorry, I should not hear you.
What?
She's not doing
Ms.
well?
Kyle?
No, they found an abscess on her lung. and stuff like that. She's-
All right, motion passes. We'll resume in closed
I'll talk to you
session at
later.
8:08.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
It is,
I was just gonna
in Lambert,
shut it off.
Mokina, or something like that. It's on the highway. I'll be hospital with my dad. Crazy. Okay, I'll let you know. Okay, thanks for sticking around. Thanks, Bridget, for sticking around. Thank you.
How are you? Good job, girls. Way to go. It was the best part of the meeting. You know, I hope everyone